Hi, my name is Suzanne Moore and I'm a real estate broker here in Key West. I've also been a resident here on the island for 31 years and I'm the Realtor Political Action Committee Chair for the Key West Association of Realtors. Over the last 3 weeks, I have sat down with all 9 candidates that are running for Commissioner and Mayor. Why they should vote for Sarah for Commissioner this year? Why should they vote for Bobby Lurie?
Trying to bring people together.
What I have accomplished in 23 months, my opponent hasn't done in 8 years.
That's not factual.
Okay.
It's not factual.
I asked them all property-related questions, including but not limited to housing, property rights, short-term rentals, property taxes, the workings of the building department, and all things real estate. All these interviews are available on my YouTube channel, no cuts and no edits. If you'd like to watch these, just click the link below, and I hope that these interviews will help you decide who to vote for in the upcoming elections. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Sarah Compton, who is running for Commissioner for District 4. So welcome.
Thank you so
Very
much.
welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in and talk with me.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. So as we get started, why don't you tell the viewers and the listeners a little bit about yourself, your history to Key West, how long you've been here, what you do for a living, that kind of stuff.
I'm Sarah Compton. I came here when my dad moved here when I was 11. And I spent half of my time in St. Louis, Missouri, and the other half of my time in Key West growing up. I own a small business called Discover Your Key West. We do concierge marketing and VIP concierge work for like large groups and things like that to create really cool cultural experiences for people that they may not be able to just kind of find themselves. We put together things where they really get to experience Key West culture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about your decision to run for commissioner in your district. Tell us about that.
I decided to run. I had been attending meetings for 2 years probably. Since I started my business, and you know, I was just very involved and got more and more curious about what was happening. And then we had, you know, a lot of shakeup happening over the last summer, and I decided that everybody needed a voice, and that's what I knew that I could be. I knew that I could be a good representative rather than just kind of making decisions based on my own belief system, you know, instead listening to the public when they talk. So public participation is really my North Star. That's what I want to really cultivate in the city of Key West.
So when did you start your business?
2022.
Okay. So that was a catalyst that led you into starting to follow local politics?
Yep. Yes.
And you did or didn't like what you saw?
It's a mixture of both. I mean, you know, there's, but I noticed a lot that when it was time for the public to speak, that it was treated almost as an obstacle to get over, to get to the point of whatever it was, rather than a very important part of the process. And that was something that I knew that I could change, because, you know, part of what I do is I help create community. I help to, you know, bring people together. And I knew that I could bring that to the city, and that's one of the reasons I decided.
Oh, good. And are you involved in like some other organizations in town already?
I am. I volunteer for quite a few of them.
Okay.
I've worked with the Key West Immigrant Support Network. I have worked with running food drives for SOS. We do all kinds of things. So.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to get started with some of the questions that pertains to real estate, things that realtors are interested in. I'm a real estate broker. So the first thing, of course, is my favorite subject, which is housing.
Yeah.
So Key West has very little land left remaining that's underdeveloped. If we are going to create additional housing, where do you think it should go, number one? And should the city prioritize redevelopment? Should we increase density in certain areas or use adaptive uses of existing buildings? So I know there's a lot in
Right.
there, and also like you to address current workforce and affordable housing projects.
Okay. So in my district, I think that we could make a big change by making either accessory units or additions easier to build under the code. You know, of course, we have to think about the flooding and everything that happens in District 4 also. But I think that we can do that. I think that we can find ways of building that doesn't cause the water runoff, that actually allows people's families to stay, because that's the biggest thing that I've heard is as I've been going door to door, people saying, well, I'm here, but my kids aren't here, or my grandkids aren't. You know, they had to leave because they couldn't afford to stay, and they wish they had an accessory unit or something to do that. So I think that, particularly in my district, that is a really good answer to a big housing problem.
Right. And so what about so if you do an ADU, you know, these accessory dwelling units, should that be for just a family member, some are related, or would you be open to having them be rented long-term to create additional housing?
Oh, of course I'd be open to them being rented long-term.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
And what about the existing workforce and affordable housing projects? Some of the residents say we've spent millions of dollars over the last 10 years on these big projects, but maybe they're not managed correctly.
Yeah.
There's a big discrepancy between, you know, what people are earning, what they can afford, and is it really affordable?
Right. And that's, you know, that's a good question. And we do have, I know that they are going to be doing a large housing study. That it's in the budget. Yep. Because I just got budget materials, so they are going to be doing a large scale housing assessment to really answer those questions. And some of the housing we have built, I think it's important that we really think about what contractors we're using. I know of some issues in our brand new housing in Bahama Village.
You mean at the lofts?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard anything about issues at the lofts. But
I can't speak on it because it's somebody else's situation, and there's a lot of legality there. But you know, that's happening because of it not being built correctly to keep the moisture out and things like that. So,
well, yeah, we're going to get into, you know, if it's a city-funded building, I'm sure it's been inspected many times, and, you know, one would assume that it's being building to code. If it's a city-owned build, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. The city controls its zoning and building height regulations, and a lot of the height restrictions can be managed here at a local level. Do you believe the current height restrictions strikes the right balance between preserving the city's historic character and allowing redevelopment?
I do. I have, you know, I live on the 5th floor of a building.
Okay.
So, you know, I think that our height restrictions are okay, and I think that when it comes to things that are, you know, necessary, taking things before the planning board. I mean, we granted a height variance just recently for, I believe it was an HVAC unit on a roof that made it too high on some public housing. So
You mean the city did?
Yes.
Give a height variance? Yeah, we're talking a lot about the residential stuff now has to be, the first floor has to be so much higher.
yes,
And height restrictions haven't changed to comply with, you know, climate adaptation.
right.
And the
right.
new building regulations. They're requiring new construction to be so much higher on the ground level, but yet the second floor has not been raised.
Right.
So do you think that if you are elected commissioner, that would be something that you'd be open to reviewing?
I would love to go through the codes with a fine-toothed comb.
Okay.
Being a member of the planning board, as I am now, we come across things so often that just they don't make sense, or they go directly against each other. They're both in the code, so then it has to come to us.
So, as how long have you been on the planning board?
Since last summer.
Okay, so it's always great to see, another woman that's, been appointed to one of these types of positions. So tell us what you've learned as a member of the planning board, because we've had another candidate who's on the planning board.
Yes.
And he talked to us a little bit about his thoughts. So why don't you share what you've learned by being on the planning board, how you think you could improve things?
Being on the planning board, I have really learned a lot about, our LDRs, and because I have to comb through them constantly, and I've seen how our code doesn't match up, and I've sat down with our planning department and spent so much time with them, which they are fantastic, by the way. Our planning department, our new planning department, they are all working really, really hard. And they will come in and show you, look at this. They're two totally different things, and they want to go through it and get it done. It's just a matter of,
You think that's why things get bogged down in the city all the time, because of the old codes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're just trying to figure out where the discrepancies are with regards to planning, the building department.
Right.
Why is it so difficult, complicated, even intimidating?
Right. And there really needs to be an overhaul of those departments. It should not take, even our large companies, it took HTA years of jumping through hoops just to fix their decking that was ruined in Irma. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Right.
It shouldn't take that long
Right.
to get things done. So that hurts homeowners, it hurts businesses. And I really think that, first of all, us getting through our codes, and secondly, making everything more streamlined. There's no sense in this day and age, with the technology we have for project management and things like that, for things to not be able to go from one desk to the next in a nanosecond.
Right. Right. Do you agree that we have enough current workforce in affordable housing in Key West?
There's always going to be more people coming to Key West, and we can only grow so much. As far as building more workforce housing, I don't know where else we would build it at this point.
Yeah. Well, of course, we don't really have too many, ROGOs and B passes for all of that.
Right, right.
So
yeah, we are very, very limited on what we can build as far as building out further. So.
Right. Right. Do you think there's any incentives that Key West could offer to encourage long-term housing for the local workforce? For instance, like property owners rent long-term rather than doing monthly rentals. And what would those look like?
I would love for the city to go to, and not only on our level, but going to the state level and talking about getting those homesteaded. If people have a rental unit that they are using as a long-term rental for locals, they would get a tax break, and that would help us tremendously.
But of course, that requires really good relationships with our, cohorts in Tallahassee.
Absolutely.
It's mostly made on a state level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about some more issues that as realtors we tend to deal with all the time, but with a question that did come up, which is sort of new, as more and more visitors are choosing to stay on boats, floating vessels, rather than the traditional accommodations, and using VRBO and Airbnbs to book these people that are coming in on a transient, short-term level. Do you believe the city should adopt a policy governing these short-term lodging on vessels, particularly located in the city marinas and on city-controlled waterfront properties?
I do 100%. Absolutely. That has to be controlled, not for a number of reasons, but for the integrity of our tourism industry. They need to be licensed for that.
Do you think that's what the policy should be, licensed?
Probably, at least that's a start.
Right.
I would like to see them have a transient license. And it should be a transient license. I mean, the same that you get for a home or an apartment
Right.
here.
Right. So you think that maybe the city should issue transient licenses for these boats and these that are doing these types of rentals?
I think that as long as we are not overfilling ourselves to where it's causing a problem for, hurricane evacuation and things like that, I would say probably a license. Although I would prefer to see less of that all around. I would like to see more tourists staying in hotels and, our homes and boats and things like that be used for workforce housing.
For workforce housing. Yeah, the number of transient licenses is the lowest number it's been in probably ever. We just, all of the transient licenses, the Truman Annex expired.
Right.
And so they have gone to a value of about $500,000. On the open market, that's how much it costs to buy a transient license. Do you believe the city should maintain its current cap on those transient licenses, or should they expand the number of licenses in the current zones? Or should they reduce them further?
I do believe they should maintain the cap that
You do?
there is, yes.
Yeah,
I do.
And tell us why you think that.
I think that because it will help encourage long-term rental, workforce housing, and then hopefully we can figure out different incentives to help with. I just totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay. So we're just talking about, you think that we should reduce the number or cap it at
Cap
least?
it, yes.
Transient licenses.
Yes, so we should cap that and then bring in more incentives for people to do long-term rentals and affordable rentals.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people who are using their houses once or twice a month a year, they can't rent to the 12-month tenant because then they can't enjoy their own house.
Right.
So, trying to strike the right balance. A previous city commission proposed a policy that would have prohibited any future monthly rentals. Do you believe in restricting future property owners in this way as a good policy?
I don't think so. We have to strike a balance between people's property rights and our own tourism balance. And I don't think that those monthly rentals have ever really been the problem.
Some people would probably disagree. We have about 3,000 plus monthly vacation rentals on the island.
Yeah.
But striking the balance between
and I mean we can't policy our way out of every single problem because people do have rights, and we have to balance that the best that we can.
Right. And so regardless of the number of licenses, do you believe the city is doing enough to enforce the current rules and regulations of vacation rentals? No? And how would you encourage stronger enforcement?
I think that we need a very active code enforcement. I think that us spending time looking through Airbnbs and going to the sites and seeing if that is indeed a vacation rental or not is important.
Why do you think that's not being done right now? Is it a staffing thing? Is it a cost thing? Is it, all of the above?
I would say it's probably a staffing thing, but I don't think that it's something that we're incapable of. I think under the current organization, it's too tight for them to do that right now, but I think with some streamlining and making our departments more efficient, that we could certainly have more active code enforcement. Because right now code enforcement is basically completely complaint driven. And that doesn't help anybody. That turns neighbors against neighbors, and it really just makes a mess of things. So I think us, having a far more active code enforcement would help in a lot of different situations.
Yeah. So when you say making the departments more efficient, what do you mean by that? What is your, if you're in the planning department, you're in the city, you go to city commission meetings, you're involved, and with your election process, I'm sure you're doing all your research, figuring out what's coming up, what do I need to know? So how do we make, in your opinion, if you're elected commissioner, how do you propose to make it more efficient at City Hall?
There are some, there's some policy moves that we could make, but really that is a matter for management. And we have to have the right city manager who can do that. I'm excited for next week and all of our budget workshops, because I think we'll get a good idea as to whether or not this city manager can do that.
Do you think, you have some experience at City Hall. Do you think that it's working right at the moment, or do you think we need a change?
I think that we probably need a change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to switch to, so property insurance, of course, is a big topic, and it's something that is one of the biggest obstacles to buying and owning a home and a business now in Key West. It's gone up and up and up, and many decisions are made at a state level. But is there any specific actions that you would take as commissioner to help reduce the burden of wind and flood on property owners in Key West?
I think that our green building is a step in the right direction, and I would really like to see more people taking advantage of that as they're renovating homes and things like that, because it will help to reduce their insurance rates, and I think that is probably our best course of action right now.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit about that policy?
Sure. At the city, we recently passed our green building, and you get your building permit that is specific to this being green building, and then you get some of your money back. You aren't spending as much on the actual permitting itself.
Okay, so the cost of permitting is less expensive if you have more.
You're getting money back.
I see.
Yep.
Is it
and then
a
and then
percentage?
you're also getting certified.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It's a percentage of the cost of the permitting for it.
And so, what about making it easier for people to raise houses and elevate structures, those kinds of things?
Yes, I think that that is important. Whenever we start going through these LDRs, I think that we really need to be forward thinking whenever we're looking at them, rather than just trying to go through and say, well, this doesn't match up and that doesn't match up. That's great, but we really need to be forward thinking, and we need to think about because the water's coming up. We're seeing it come up. We have to think about the buildings being built higher and making it easy for people to do that, and all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of waters coming up, we've had some experienced severe, intense rain events in recent years. We had one last month. We had one about 18 months before that. It seems to be becoming, more frequent event, unfortunately, here in Key West. So given the city's limited budget, what specific actions could you prioritize over the next 4 years to better protect the residents and businesses from flooding, if any?
So with flooding, we currently have a lot of projects that are kind of coming online that are early, particularly in my district, that I'm really excited about, because we often get projects on Duval Street or near Duval Street, things like that, which they are putting in a pump station in Mallory Square, which will really, I believe, help Front Street. But you do, in your district, which is like close to Riviera, yeah, so you do have some issues in we
that
have a
whole area.
lot of flooding.
So what specifically for your district do you think that we could do there?
I am actually very excited. They just passed a contract for putting in valves that will stop seawater from coming back, because we flood if there's a king tide. We don't just flood with large rain events, So that will help with that part. They're also in the very early stages of a flagler project to raise flagler and also put in all new drainage through there. That will make a huge difference. And also on those the side neighborhoods, it will make a difference because that drainage will be
That
a
sounds
lot
like an
more
expensive
effective.
project.
It is.
Right.
It is not just the city that is paying for that. We did have, and like I said, it's in its very, very early stages. So at this point, we have said that we will take on the cost of maintaining that drainage system once it's done. But Flagler is a Monroe County road. So that will, they are currently working on getting a grant for
Right, so
that
trying
road.
to get some state and federal funding
Yep.
rather than doing any kind of increase in our own
Yes.
local tax. Of
Yes.
course, yeah,
Yes.
okay. What's your understanding of the ROGO and the BPAS process? I mean, do you believe the current ROGO and BPAS process strikes a balance between protecting the environment, supporting our property rights?
I have mixed feelings on it.
Okay, well, now's the time. We can't wait to hear what you think.
I mean, at some point we do have to stop building. You know, there is only so much space this island has, and with us, you know, continuously being given B passes each year, you know, it allows for more units to be built, and it's really tough to put your foot down and say, okay, I'm saying when, like this is it. But we have to sit down as leadership and really think about that, and where that line has to be for the quality of life for our residents and
Right.
for our tourists. Because tourists don't want to come to a place that is overcrowded and that they can't get out of if there is a hurricane.
Well, that's true. That's definitely true. And also with regards to, you know, we're kind of going to stick with building permits and building permits. It's something that we deal with all the time as realtors, and we're dealing with, you know, builders and people doing renovations, and there's been a lot of people that have complained over the years about how difficult and intimidating it is to get any permits through to the city. Okay, whether it's a new build, a renovation, even a bathroom.
Yeah.
It can be difficult. So one of the, you know, it's one of the biggest obstacles that people are doing projects, and then they do projects without permits. And so what specific changes would you try to see happen there to ease that whole process?
Specifically, I would really, really like to see new technology being used between our city departments, because the way that it's moving isn't working. We know it isn't working, and it hasn't worked for a long, long time. This isn't a new problem that we're having. And there's some of the software that the city uses is kind of antiquated. And I think that changing that and making it easier for things to pass through the hands that it needs to pass through, we can get this done probably with less staff than we currently have.
Right, so trying to just make it more efficient.
Yeah.
Do you feel that people are intimidated by going into the city and getting permits? Do you feel that that's the case with now you're walking door to door and talking to the people in
Yes.
your area? Do they ask you about what's happening at the city? You know, do people ask you about that?
Absolutely. I think that people feel they don't feel heard. Again, you know, they go in and they're trying to do this the right way, and they're being held back. I have a neighbor who just bought a piece of property, and you know, he caught me in the parking lot, and he was like, I don't know what else to do. And I was like, we just, you know, it's got to get through the process. There's nothing I can do as a planning board member. But it took him months and months and months, and he's still not to the finish line yet.
Right.
And
So for someone who understands how things work there, what do you say to somebody like that who is just so frustrated at the whole process?
I told him to find out what steps it needs to go through and go down there and be the squeaky wheel and help pull it through from one desk to the other, which
Right.
I know that my friends at City Hall are going to be so mad for hearing me
Right.
say that. But I used to be a realtor, and whenever I had to get things through cities that weren't easy to get things through, that's literally what I did.
Right.
You know, I went and I pushed and I put, that piece of paper in front of whatever eyes needed to see it to get my deal closed.
Right. Well, there seems to be a lot of rules and regulations, and people are really being very careful at the city now, making sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed. They feel they're being looked at, So we have some great people that are working there, of course.
Yeah.
But I do feel still there's got to be some room there but I think it's, it's really about the management of how it's all being done.
Yeah. Our management has not. It is just not run efficiently, like I said, it hasn't been for a long time.
Right.
So this is a problem that can be fixed.
Do you feel that that it hasn't been run efficiently for years past? I mean, we've had some good city managers there for years. Is it a new thing that you think that we're dealing with?
I don't think that it's a new thing. I think right now it's probably slower than it's been. And I think that there's a few reasons for that. Like I said, I don't think that it is being run efficiently. And I also think, I know that for quite some time they were very bogged down with a lot of properties that they had to put eyes on a second time.
Yeah.
That stemming from the situation last summer.
Yeah. It has not been easy.
No,
it hasn't been easy.
And those folks, they have been working really hard, but I do believe that with the right management, it could run much smoother for our residents and our businesses, because that is something that everybody struggles with. From our grandmothers to our developers, everybody has to deal with it.
So we're going to move on to talk about the taxes, expenditures of what's happening, right? So, our Governor DeSantis has proposed a new homestead tax system, and that may reduce our revenue here at a local level. Do you agree with what he's proposing?
I mean, at this point, it's been put up to the voters. And I always believe in the voters being able to use their voice and make that decision. So now that it's in the voters' hands, it's in the voters' hands. But my thing is that the money always comes from somewhere. I personally don't agree with that because it takes away some of our autonomy. We now have to turn to the state and federal government more for funding because we aren't able to collect our own. And I think that gives up some more of our home rule, which has been whittled away over the last few years.
Do you think that, if our tax revenue goes down, I mean, how do we adapt in Key West while continuing to fund all of our essential services, public safety, infrastructure, resilience projects, how do you find the right balance?
I think that first we can't tax our way out of this problem, I don't think, not while keeping this place affordable. The city has some really excellent assets that could be making them more money that are making them nearly nothing.
Can you elaborate on that? I mean, we have a beautiful city hall building, but we certainly can't make many money off that.
We can't make any money off that.
So we do have a lot of assets, and other people who are campaigning have mentioned that. And so, is there something specific that you have your eye on that you'd like to see it changed?
There are, we look at some of the sweetheart deals that, everybody knows have happened in the past, and I'm not blaming anybody who is currently in office, but, this goes back all the way to the 60s or 70s, but we need to find ways to talk to our current tenants who are in these places and either sell the property or, work out a new contract that's more than, say, $1 a year.
Okay. And so there's a lot of new capital projects that are on the horizon for Key West. Particularly, there's a proposed new firehouse, which has a very large number attached to it.
Yes.
And some people are very much for that, and some people are not. What is your vision for that?
It had to be done at some point. I mean, it did, and the conditions that our firefighters were living in, or are still living in there, is aberrant. I mean, it was honestly awful.
Right.
So it had to be done.
Well, we've heard from one of the candidates that there's been a number that has been proposed north of 30 million, even north of 40 million. The entire square footage of the building is not that big.
Right.
Do you think that is a realistic number?
I don't think that is a realistic number, and I'm truly hoping it doesn't cost that much. But that is the number that 32 million was what they asked for it.
Right. And being on the planning board, have you seen any plans for it?
No, not for the new firehouse.
Right.
So I'm very interested to see plans for it. But I think that the thought process there was that we're asking for 32 million from the bond, but we won't use as much as we can. I don't know if that was the right way to go about it. I don't think that I would have voted that way. Right. But that is where we're at.
Do you think that the voters who voted for all of these improvements of the bond understood exactly what was happening?
No, I don't. I know that when I got my ballot, I had to do a lot of research, and that's why I do mail-in voting, is so that I can research these things before I vote on them, because the ballot did not make any of those things clear. Right.
So the newest asset, of course, that we have just acquired now is Higgs Beach.
Yes.
What was your prior to the transfer happening? Were you in favor of that?
I was not, because I didn't have enough information, and I didn't feel like anyone else did either. And I feel that that was justified. I went to the Higgs Beach meeting just recently, and they don't have a short-term or a long-term maintenance plan. So there's no way that we could have sat down and really crunched any numbers if we don't have even a basic maintenance plan.
Right.
So
now that we do have it,
that we have the park. Yes, we do have the park. I was going to say we still don't have a plan.
Now that we do have the park and $4 million that came with it, what do you think is the first couple of things that we need to do with Higgs Beach?
Higgs Beach, I really think that we need to get, I'm very excited about hearing that they're talking about putting in a multi-use field and a new hockey rink in over there.
I hadn't heard that.
Yes. So I think that is wonderful, because the current hockey rink is over in my district, and the teenagers, as I've been going door to door, are like, why don't we have a roof yet?
Right.
That's, and their voices deserve to be heard too,
Yeah.
So I would love to see that happen. But first, we have to do all of the safety issues that we have over there. I mean, we've got to replenish the beach. We have to fix the seawall. We have to make sure that what we have is safe. You know, if we can get it safe, because maintaining something is how you, it's just good business.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Well, a lot of people, you know, when there's a new road, people get charged tolls to pay for the new road.
Right.
When there's all this space, do we charge people parking? What is your opinion? Key West does parking very well, right? We make $9 million a year from parking.
Yeah.
So do we charge people for parking? Do we have paid parking at Higgs Beach? What's your thoughts on that?
I feel that it would do more damage than good. I think that we have Salute as a wonderful tenant there. We want to make sure that they can still conduct business, and having a free parking lot is a huge draw to any restaurant.
Sure.
Especially where it's located. So I think that parking is the wrong direction to take. You know, I think that there are other things that we can do from, you know, having possibly more vendors or things like that. There's ways that we can make more money on Higgs Beach without charging people to park.
Do you think if you're elected as commissioner, would that be something on your priority list, or are there other things that you think are more important at this time?
I mean, Higgs Beach has to be on our priority list because this is a huge, very, very valuable piece of property that we now own. You know, we have to make this right, and we have to be very careful with the decisions that we make for the future of Higgs Beach. So, I mean, it has to be high on our priority list.
Right. So we've got to spend money on storm water. We've got to spend money on Higgs Beach. We're going to spend money on new firehouse. We're going to spend money on lots and lots of capital projects. So while not raising the tax rate, where are we going to get the money from?
Unfortunately, like I said, it really makes us lose a lot of our autonomy. We have to go to the state for more grants. We have to go to the federal government for more grants. And for some things, we have to charge assessments. And I hope that there's another way to do that. But right now, that is what they're proposing, which I believe is a regressive tax. I believe that hurts lower income people the most. And I don't want to see that happen.
Would you vote against assessments?
I would vote against assessments.
Yeah.
I really, I really think that it is a poor way of bringing in money.
So, you know, a lot of people that are being elected, of course, nobody ever wants to say we're going to raise the millage rate, we're going to increase taxes, because, of course, everybody wants to get elected. And,
right, of course.
But we're just trying to figure out, do we have solutions as to where the money's going to come from? So, you know, one of the other candidates running has also mentioned, yes, we have millions of dollars worth of assets, but how exactly do we use them? You know, without encumbering any future debt for future generations.
Right.
And of course, our assets have to be used for collateral for the bond. And so, you know, that's why we're asking these questions.
Yeah.
Where your ideas are. You know, how do you see it all working?
With our assets, we have to go through these contracts and make sure that we are not doing a disservice to the community by helping a few.
Right. So to kind of finish up, why don't you tell the listeners and the people that are watching why they should vote for Sarah for commissioner this year?
All right. I am here to listen to your voice and to truly listen and to make sure that not only are you heard, but that you're part of the process, which I think is so important. We wouldn't have the same kind of corruption and things that we do with these sweetheart deals and everything else if we had the public's eyes on it. these things can't live in the sunshine. So if we can bring everything out into the sunshine, get the public more involved in a very meaningful way, that's what I intend to do.
When you're not working and campaigning, what do you do for fun on the island?
I get out on the water.
Okay.
You know, I love the water, and every time I go out into the back country, I stand there and I, you know, waist deep in that clear water, and I'm like, I get to live here. Like, you know, it's connecting with nature is definitely what I do. Or I'm kind of a nerd. I go birding also.
Okay, really? Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I think that, you know, and we have to comment because you're probably the only person brave enough to come out and
Heavily
show
tattooed.
all of your tattoos.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and that's been obviously something that you like to do too. Do you have a lot of tattoos?
I do have a lot of tattoos. I've stopped getting them. I feel like, and some of them are getting removed because they were, you know, ideas in my 20s
When you
that
were
were
younger?
great. Yeah, and
Yeah.
aren't as great now. But no, I do. I love art.
Okay.
And, you know, the way I've always looked at tattoos is that I'm collecting art, and I get to take it with me.
Yeah, you know,
I don't get to take
A lot
any of my
people
other art
have
with me.
tattoos and they don't show them off like that, so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
for
No,
you.
I've never wanted to present myself as anything different than what I am.
Yeah.
I think that is, authenticity is really, really important to me. It's important in my campaign and in leadership. And, you know, the way that I intend to lead is through authenticity.
Great. All right. So thank you so much, and thanks to Sarah for coming in and talk to us, and good luck in your District 4 Commissioner
you.
race, and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Okay.